All right. Um, Penny's fine. She's totally fine because they're going to reconnect her and put all the pieces together, and she'll be good to go. Because that's how things work. They'll just piece her back together. She's the first, what was it, automaton, or I think it was automaton. I might be mistaken, but the only thing special that I'm thinking might be a problem is when she was talking with Ruby that she was the first one to develop an aura, and therefore, if she has an aura, she has a soul. Um, but all you gotta do is just put it back together and turn it back on, right? And everything will work as it was, right? Right? It has to. It just has to. It has to work. Um, so Penny's fine. Penny will be okay. They just gotta patch her up. Um, she went into hibernation mode. That thing you saw at the end, that has to be hibernation mode. Low power reserve. That's what it was. Um, it's not much to break down. Everything is coming to play. Everything is just happening. Honestly, everything is falling into place. The Grims are invading the city on their own, and they're being brought in by the White Fang. The White Fang is in a it's a coalition effort. Everybody is attacking the city at once. But for some reason, Mercury was filming the entire event. Now, perhaps it's a way to broadcast it to the other kingdoms as well, so that everybody's aware of what's happening in Vale, right? That's the kingdom of Vale, because you have Atlas, Minstrel, Vale. Is there another one? I can't remember. There was a fourth one. Atlas, Vale, Minstrel. I think there's another one. I can't quite pull it back up if there is. But if there's a fourth one, then they're just transmitting everything that's happening in Vale to the other kingdoms. And if the Grim are attracted by these negative emotions, then it's pretty much a whole wide scale assault to the entire planet of Remnant, if that's the case. But why? Why why bring forth so much destruction and ruin upon all the kingdoms? What's the point? I mean, if we were to think about if we were to think about the songs that we've heard in volume 2, I remember we talked about Sacrifice, and also Volume One. The first song of Volume One. Um, in the opening song, when we heard the full version of it, there was a part in the lyrics that said, it said, I don't remember, but it's something about sacrifice for one huge lie, or are we weapons? Am I mixing lyrics? Hold on, let me get the tones out of my head. Are we heroes keeping peace, or are we heroes keeping peace? I don't know. I don't remember how it goes, but it's there was the words go, um, sacrifice for one huge lie, or are we weapons pointed at the enemy so someone else can claim the victory? That's how it ends. But there is a part about sacrifice for one huge lie, and then we think about the sacrifice song, and I don't know if this council of nations, the council of kingdoms that we know about, if all of it is just a lie. I mean, I know I talked about possibilities that, like the Grim, are like these tools of nature correcting the invaders, which would be the humans, because they attack structures and they attack negative emotions and even people themselves. Um, but I'm just trying to figure out why would they focus on attacking all the kingdoms, or broadcasting it to everybody else so that everybody else can see this destruction and this mayhem and this despair going on in Vale, and start brooding these negative emotions that will eventually attract more Grim to their kingdoms as well. So I'm not sure. I mean, it's I don't quite understand the purpose behind it, or what is the agenda. What do you expect to achieve by doing this? I mean, completely restructure everything, completely just burn everything down and then start anew. How would you start anew? How would be a how would you rebuild, so to say? How would you start society again? Who will start society again? Who's going to be left after the purge or the cleansing? You know, because it seems to me that that's what the goal is here right now. There's like this purge of destruction and just wiping everything out, and they started and they focused their efforts on Vale, but they're making sure that everything gets transmitted. Make sure you get the footage of what's happening here and focus on those guys, and make sure you don't miss what's happening next. And then the dragon comes out. So clearly it's a form of propaganda to instill fear and despair and these negative emotions. And if that's the case, then I mean that's the only thing that stands out right now for me. The fact that they want to just completely, scorched earth policy, just completely burn everything down, and then from the ashes start rebuilding and start making a new form of, I don't know, society, government, um, civilization, so to say. That's those are the messages that I'm picking up from these things that are happening right now. Um, why Vale? Maybe because it was hosting the Vital Festival, and all eyes were on Vale. You know, I mean that's the best that I can come up with at this point, at least. So at this point, so at this point, we find ourselves in the point of execution. We find ourselves in the point where the plan is being enacted. All the players are going their roles. You know, Adam brought in the White Fang. Do you think they'll listen to us? No, but they'll listen to me. Hmm. Um, so he brought in the White Fang, and there's this coalition assault happening, and the Grim are in as well. So yeah, just I'm guessing it has to be because Cinder herself took it upon her to just give that fear, despair inducing speech of, you know, why would they go through the trouble of having a robot disguised as a cute little girl? I mean, when the Grim don't really care, the Grim don't really tell, um, can't tell apart um, robot from girl. It's not important to the Grim. She's causing, she's planting that seed of doubt of, think to yourselves, why would Atlas go through these troubles, these steps to achieve these things? Because the only ones that really care about it, honestly, if you think about it, actually, it's humans. We couldn't really tell the difference that, you know, first glance, that she's a robot and not an actual girl. So that does raise the question, but why go through such great lengths to deliver the message in such a way where it causes this feeling of distrust? Oh man, and this brings me back to that one song in particular. Um, what was it called? Um, oh man, what was that song called? I see it everywhere, and the hate is flowing. And damaging the. Oh, hmm. The machines of war will fuel both sides. And now it's time to die. There we go. Got it. So it reminds me of that song "Time to Die," where it's pretty much bringing to the point, yeah, and we see it happening here. The Atlas, I don't know what to call them, the drones, the programmable robots that don't have really any AI. They just are programmed or operator controlled or whatever. Um, they're fueling both sides. First, they were fighting for the Atlas Kingdom, and then they switched sides because they got hijacked and corrupted and infected with the chess piece virus, and now they're attacking everybody else. Um, so the machines of war are now fueling both sides. Um, and Cinder is trying to instill this distrust, this feeling of not revenge is always sweet, but chaos is the price, and chaos is the price. Not that part. The one that says see it everywhere in the same moment. Oh, I can't remember, but I'm having a hard time remembering that one particular part that I want to get at. But it basically talks about um, that not every smile is the same, and it's getting very hard to find. No, not every open wound is simply healed but by time. But revenge is always sweet, and chaos is the prize. Not that part. I'm thinking about before that, where it says, I bet most of you are yelling at your screens right now, trying to tell me what it is, but I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Dang it! It's ugh, it's dang it. I want to look it up so bad right now, but I don't want to go online and you know. I shouldn't. Oh, it's stuck in my head now. I can't think. I can't think anything else from it. For mankind, look around is getting very hard to find. And then we go to the thing. So I gotta move a little bit further than that. How's the song start? See it everywhere and the hands falling and the pails growing shattering the moon and bloodying the sky. The machines of war will feel both sides. Yes, it's time to. Dang it! I'm losing track of what I'm doing because I'm falling through that I'm falling through that rabbit hole. I gotta get myself out of here. Okay, so there's that song, "Time to Die." It has some lyrics that I know they're linked to it, but I can't quite clear up the image. I have a blurry image, and the color is matching, but I can't quite see what's there yet. But it links with what's happening here. Um, it has to do with the smiles. Not every smile is the same. Um, it's something like that, but I can't quite clear it up in my mind. But there's that, and it's linked with this, and with the events that are happening. Everything is now going on in sequence. You coordinated attack are happening. You have everybody scrambling. There's no order. There's no nothing. And nobody was expecting this. Ospin at one point, kind of like he doesn't let this issue of mistrust or like what the heck cloud his concern for what's happening around him. He's watching his screens. He's surveying his kingdom. Is Ospen the leader of Vale? I don't think he is because he's the headmaster. But James Ironwood is the general of the army and also the headmaster of Atlas's huntress school academy. So with that being said, uh, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, so Ospin, he's watching everything unfold, and then the Cinder is giving her little speech propaganda of like, why would they do this? ugh, mistrust, and you should be concerned about those around you. And when the first shots are fired, basically, who would you trust? Because, look what they did. Do you really trust him? Do you? Do you really trust him? Mm? And you cause that you plant that seed of doubt that causes these negative thoughts to come out from, right? So Ospen, he's completely unfazed by that. He's like, hey, you brought your armies into my kingdom. Ospen, I'm sorry. Listen, bro, chill. That girl, I gotta. Shh, it's okay. Use your army. Do this. And then he gets that encouragement. He's like, yeah, Ospen is still my buddy. He's my bro. And so he does. He launches his troops, but they're disorganized. They're not quite ready for this because it was completely unexpected. This whole thing happened due to the unfortunate hibernation of Penny because she's hibernating. She's fine. She's totally fine. So Penny went into hibernation into a very cruel way, and everybody's like, wow. Everybody's in shock. Everybody's like, stun locked. They're like, and then there's like, okay, now it's the time. Go, go, go. And great strategy, by the way, but still beyond the point. The thing is that because of these things, everything now is falling in place. Everything now is just, for the opposing team, not for Team Beacon, but for the opposing team. Everything is working. Everything is in place. Mercury made sure to hold off Ruby so that she didn't have enough time to reach the ring and stop it. I guess she was trying to do. She wanted to get to the ring. Um, which reminds me also that Mercury and Yang, it was also staged, um, to create that that negative emotion of like, wow, excuse me, can you believe that girl? She just, openly attacked this poor guy without any reason whatsoever. Gosh, what a pineapple. And so it all has a purpose. And now we see it all come together in a way for the opposing team, right? Um so yeah, so Ospen was unfazed by this. He's just like, well, you know, you have armies here. At first I was a bit concerned because, if this is your armies, what are we defending against? That was one of his points that he tried to drive towards Ironwood. And he said, honestly, why would you do this? And also, what's her name? It's that woman. Uh, yeah, that Glenda woman. I just remembered something. I'm looking at you, Drax. Um, but yeah, so Glinda, um, was also on the same page as Ospen with the military bravado and whatever whatnot towards Ironwood. But at the same time, they have this hidden relationship going on of senpai, why are you looking at the building? And so I'm remembering these things now. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Uh, what was I going with this? I was going for. Wait, actually, that makes me remember something else. So let me make a side tangent here, and open up a space really quick. Um, Senpai, you dressed yourself up to a T, and you stare menacingly at the tower now. And then Ironwood says, "I'm sorry, my arm was acting up." And then I got excited because I'm like, "Oh yeah, James Ironwood in combat style. Let's watch." And he actually blocked an attack with his arm, which was the arm that's acting up. Now I remember a while back ago that I mentioned that he was a cyborg. I'm getting even more convinced that this guy is a cyborg because I'm not sure exactly 100% how aura works, but you get hit and you're gonna fly. And there's a high chance, I honestly don't know, but there's a high chance if he's able to block, if you're gonna use your if we're gonna apply physics to this, right? There are 3 points of force that are at play here. Point number one is his arm blocking the attack. Point two and three are his feet on the floor. Now, that's what's holding James in that position. If he were to receive a full blow hit on his arm, right? And and this is what I'm guessing. And he were to have just I don't know how much arm he has, right? But if he goes from the shoulder, I'm going to say that it's at least this part of his body is cybernetic, right? If that's the case, and that comes in and hits, that's going to cause a lot of damage to the rest of his human body, right? But I have a what you call it. I believe not I have nothing. I believe that for him to avoid suffering damage from blocking that attack, or maybe he has really good what you call this? Um not a buffering system, a the thing that rifles have to reduce the the recoil of shots fired. Is it buffering system? I don't know. I can't quite think of the term right now, but either he has this really awesome suspension hydraulic, system that just absorbs the impact because that was a pretty strong swing, and and I'm thinking back also to Penny when she brought down that ship. She anchored herself to the back, but she didn't really anchor herself to the ground, and then she brought down that ship by pulling on her strings. Her weight had something to do with that. And because of that, I am getting really close to the idea that there's a possibility that James, if he has one, which I'm sure he has by now, his cybernetic implant doesn't just end here. It probably goes a little bit more down, maybe even to a leg. So I have a thought that maybe he's half robot or half a cyborg with robotic implants. So I'm going to call half of his body cybernetic. That's what I'm going for. Based on that scene where he just completely just blocked the attack. Unless, of course, Rooster Teeth is like, well, physics, who needs them? Let's just make him really badass by stopping the attack. Excuse me, bad bums, by stopping the attack and, because he's cool like that. But, I don't know. I'm really inclined to think that he's more than just his arm. I think more of his body is cybernetically enhanced. And he has a pistol. So the pistol was his range weapon. Because I'm thinking about everybody else. I mean, Yang has her shotgun slugs, and then for close combat, she has her gauntlets. Blake has her pistol, and then for long range, and then for short range, she has the sword, and also the ribbon attached to the holster that she can swing around, and also attach her weapon to it. Wise has the rapier, I think it is a good term for it. Um, No, it's not really a rapier. Is it a rapier? Rapier? I don't know. She has her sword, and then she has cartridges that she can shoot. Same thing with everybody else. Everybody seems to have a long range weapon and a short range weapon, except for John. John has a sword and a shield. John got the bad deal. He inherited his weapon. He didn't get a chance to design it to that he could have range. A family heirloom, the antique. Um, hmm, but still, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, so um, we saw James's ranged weapon, the pistol. Now we got to see how that pistol transforms into whatever close combat weapon. And Roman, Roman, what was his last name? Torchwick, right? Torchwick. He's back. So was that Neo character. Um, they took control of a ship. From what I gather, it seems to be the command ship. Because if I remember correctly, he was incarcerated, and there was this huge hangar bay where Ironwood was just like walking, unless he got transported somewhere else. But if it's the ship that I'm thinking, it's a big, massive ship. So I'm guessing that ship has link with everything else, and that's why he was able to upload the chess piece virus thing and took control of all the Sentinels and the Paladins. Are the Paladins also? Because I know Roman was piloting one, the prototype version, that was that brownish looking color. But I am not certain if they can be. I think they could be operated autonomously, where they just turn on a program and it just follows the programming. But all the Atlas technology has just been completely rendered useless and turned against the Team Beacon or Team Kingdoms, because Atlas and Beacon, I mean Atlas and Vale are working together. Hmm. And then the dragon, and then just things they went for a spin here, and we now have a dragon whose sweat creates grim. I think is what I kind of gathered, or whatever liquid it was oozing from it created grim. Um, it came from the mountain. Apparently, it was dormant there, but perhaps enough negative energy, or perhaps grim presence, awakened him from his slumber. I'm sorry. Perhaps, I don't know. But that guy was flying straight to Ospin, and he came from far away because he was really tiny when Ospin was looking at him through the window. But on his way over, he was sweating, and that sweat was breeding grim. Hmm. Why though? How? It's a bit confusing because Ooblik was telling Ruby that the very old Grimm have been alive for, I don't know if he said hundred or thousands of years. I can't quite remember the number, but they've been alive for a very long time, and they've grown wise to the point where they know not to attack, because if they do, they will die. Because of this, they patiently wait outside of the borders, outside of the barrier. And lo and behold, today is the chance, and today is the time where everybody kind of like, hey, hey, they open the door, let's go in, let's have a party inside Vale, and they're all in there. But I just can't quite understand the concept of ooze coming from this dragon creature creating Grim as soon as it touches surface. I can't think of something to explain that. Um, I would say cell multiplication of sorts. That this liquid just it's the raw DNA material where it just bleh, and it comes and it creates the Grim, because when the Grim die, they just turn to nothingness again. So if they turn to nothingness, what's to stop them from coming from nothingness? So they need this catalyst, which is dragon sweat, to be able to materialize and form and create itself. But why the dragon sweat? And if the dragon was inside the mountain all this time, where did all the Grim come from? Could it be possible that the dragon was trapped inside the mountain sweating all this time, and created all that sweat created a Grim river of sorts, and then from that Grim river, the Grim have been spawning constantly, emerging, and that's why no matter how many Grim you eliminate, there's still always more. And oops, there's always more. And no matter how many Grim you eliminate, they turn to dust, and the dust finds its way to the catalyst, which is dragon sweat, and they reemerge. But if they survive long enough on the surface or in the world, then they can evolve, and they go from little bird to medium bird to nevermore, which is the large bird, or they go from monkey grim to werewolf to the armored werewolf to the tall one, and maybe eventually into one of the the elephant ones. Jeez, what are they called? Mammoth? Mammoth? I think it's a mammoth. Um, but it's all because of the dragon sweat. So if you were to eliminate the dragon and its dragon sweat, are there more dragons with their dragon sweat creating a steady stream of Grim? speaking of creating, this makes me think about that message that that crow gave to everybody in Ospin's office when they were having that meeting. I've seen what she's making, and trust me, that is fear, or it is fear. So clearly, okay, so this is making a little bit more sense. Clearly, but what happens when the dragon dies? And there's no more dragon sweat? Or does the dragon die and leave behind a remain because it is the source, it is the catalyst, it is the essence of creation of Grim. So when it dies it spills Grim blood, and then the Grim blood spews other stuff. Hmm, I don't know. There's so many things that are possible right now, and I'm not quite sure. So there's somebody out there that's creating things. This was all part of the plan, and maybe they chose this place not only because the Vital Festival was taking place, and there was a lot of people, and the cameras were there, and everybody was paying attention to Beacon Vale. Um, Maybe also because there was the dormant dragon inside the mountain, trapped, imprisoned, or just how did he get stuck in the mountain? Why was he in the mountain? Hmm, I'm not sure. They never really mentioned a dragon before, or at least not that I can think of in this series. I'm trying to think back of there was the war against the Faunus. Um, they talked about that in the history class where they have binoculars. Thanks, John. Appreciate that. um, where that general was defeated because they actually had night vision and whatever whatnot, but then they stayed resentful because what they wanted to do was to put all the faunas into this tiny island in the southern western part of the world. um, if you were to look at that map. But so we know about that, and we also know that as a sign of retaliation to this other form of leadership that was in place, they started naming their children after color or names that inspire uh, the uh, the perception of color itself as a form of creativity and artisticness and whatever whatnot, because they wanted to oppress all these things back in the day. So we know about that, but I don't think they have mentioned a giant dragon caught or sleeping inside the mountain. Or maybe he came from the mountain, or maybe he wasn't there, but then everything kind of like bottled up, kind of like a volcano, and dragon got erupted from the mountain because there was a lot of shaking of the earth, and everybody was like, "Whoa, whoa, what's going on?" So I honestly can't quite make these pieces fit right now. Um, What is up with that dragon? I don't know. I don't know. I'm getting lost in my thoughts. Um, but I'm gonna leave it here for now. Um, I'm gonna start the next video after I take a small break really quick. Um, but yeah, Penny's fine. They're gonna put her back together, turn her back on. Um, she's fine. She'll come back. I'm certain of it. I know deep down inside that she's fine. But yeah. I'll leave it here. Thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate your support and for joining me for another episode of Watch Along. Um, you guys are awesome, and oops, and that's it. Until next time, take care, and bye bye. ふわふわふわふわふわふわりくるくるくるくるくるくる回るのふわふわふよふよふわふわりうるるくるくるふわふわ飛び出したの